follow-up video from our previous unboxing iPhone 14 Pro. If you haven't checked it, please check it out. In this video, we'll be covering the new features of the iPhone 14 Pro series. The main marketed item, or everywhere whenever you see a reel or whenever you see a shot, the main item that you see is obviously the dynamic island. So dynamic island is a pill-shaped notch on the top part of the screen. Previously, where there was a notch which was not usable at all, so even when you were playing games or trying to scroll, there used to be a black notch which was just occupying space. So Apple has kind of combined a little bit of hardware and a little bit of software and made a little UI change, wherein this particular part of the screen, if you have any alerts, any notifications like your timers, like your WhatsApp or Instagram, or your voice memos, or any particular action that's happening, or even your Face ID, it will show up here. And this particular bit is responsive, so if you click on it, you can drag and you can see what action is happening on your iPhone. So this particular part is actually responsive. You can drag it up and drag it down and see what's happening, and actually go to the application as well. And you can even close it from here. Sorry, so you can drag it like this and either pause it or close it from here. For example, you're recording a voice note, even that will show up here. So as far as I've tested, it majorly shows up two notifications, so a voice recording here and a timer here. So anything else, once you drag, it will show what all applications are being used right now. So you can close it, and then you can still see that the timer is still running. And whenever you're playing games or whenever you're on a landscape mode, the touch is still usable, the notch will still be usable, and it's definitely responsive, and it looks like a good feature. But it's majorly made only for the iPhone 14 Pro and the Pro Max series, and anything further that the Apple is gonna release. So that's about Dynamic Island. Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max continue to have an OLED screen, and the new thing is a 128 Hertz refresh rate on the displays. So what this means is a better experience in the general scrolling, a general responsiveness, and also when you're gaming, you would obviously feel the difference on how quick the screen is responding. So this feature is labeled as a ProMotion display by Apple, and so the ProMotion display allows the iPhone to update the display twice as far as 120 times. This is also quite intelligent and adaptive, wherein while giving you a better display experience, it is not draining the battery. So that's a very important thing. So Apple has not tried to give a better display by putting a lot of performance pressure on the battery. Other variants like the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Plus have a 60 Hertz refresh rate, wherein the display updates only 60 times a second. Coming to the display panels of the iPhone 14 Pro series, Apple has upgraded their brightness, the nits, the measurement of brightness, to 2000 nits. 2000 nits is the highest, or the brightest peak when you're outdoor, that is in the sun. The phone will give you a brightness of 2000. And Apple claims that iPhone high-end models have the highest nits in comparison to any smartphone from any other brand. But if we look at the smartphones coming from different countries which are not so famous, they might have a better value in the nits in comparison to the iPhone 14 Pro. It's got an update twice as much as the 13 Pro. So Apple 13 Pro had 1000 nits, and 14 Pro has a 2000 nits brightness, that is twice as much as the last series. And the typical brightness here is 1000 nits, that's on a typical usage, and the peak is 1600 nits. And obviously this 1600 nits is on peak in HDR, and obviously 2000 nits while outdoor, or the highest brightness. In comparison to Samsung's S22 Ultra, the brightest Galaxy model, the S22 Ultra has 1750 nits, Why I bought up Samsung is because Samsung and Apple both get their OLED displays from, you know, their sister company, the Samsung display. The next biggest feature with the 14 Pro series is the always on display. As we all know that, you know, Android has had this like forever and Apple is just catching up. Apple is not exactly mimicking the always on display like in Android. It is very similar to what Apple Watch has, like, you know, a pretty wallpaper and a clock and a couple of widgets. So I was not able to find a way to customize these widgets. By default, this feature is on when you get the phone. You can definitely go to settings and turn it off if you do not find it very useful. We're just hoping that, you know, Apple tries to update this feature so that it can become more customizable, at least a little bit like Android. Next new thing in the 14 Pro is the chipset. So Apple has introduced A16 Bionic chip for the 14 Pro series, and processor is an upgrade from the A15 chipset used in the previous models. But this does not equate to a huge boost in the performance. It's very modest. If you have seen my unboxing video, we've spoken about eSIMs, wherein if you're buying a phone from US or Canada, you wouldn't have a SIM slot. That's the slot which is here on the phones. So what it means is that you'll have to work with your providers on you know, registering the device and having an eSIM on your phone. For Indian users or for anybody who's not in US and Canada, they still get a SIM slot. So you will have the SIM slot in like the UK models, the Indian models, or the Dubai models. So for the people who are thinking to buy a US model, you might have to, you know, check with your service provider if they would be able to facilitate the eSIM for you. So based on you know, the new feature of the eSIM, I've seen that a lot of Indian folks are choosing Dubai over US to procure a new iPhone. I definitely agree that a huge factor involving this is because of the eSIM. So if you're an Indian user and you would want a SIM slot, then you'll have to buy a variant which is not coming from US or Canada. So Apple also released iOS 16 along with the newest phone launch, and I believe any device after iPhone 8 is available for this update. So you can update your phones to the latest software, that is the iOS 16. The major features are, I mean, the one which I'm very excited about is to lift the photo off and then, you know, copy to clipboard or paste it to any other app. So that's something I found very exciting. And the ability to customize your lock screen and edit and delete messages. So these are the couple of highlighted features of iOS 16. I'll try to do a different video dedicated for iOS 16. So keep watching. The biggest, or you know, the most awaited upgrade or the most awaited update should be the camera. So the bump is literally increased, and very unusual to Apple, they've upgraded the sensor. So it's 48 megapixel sensor for the main camera. The other two, the ultra wide and the telephoto lenses, have also got a slight update, but they are still in the 12 megapixel sensor range. Obviously this does not affect the quality at all. So the previous iPhones still were able to take better pictures, the good quality pictures. The new thing would be the RAW support update to the cinematic mode and the action mode, which I'm very, you know, eager to check it out. And there is also the low light. The low light modes are also getting an update. So we'll try to, you know, play around with the camera a little, especially the action mode, and show you guys on, you know, what we feel. So keep watching us, space. Features are satellite connectivity and crash detection. So both of them are to be used in a very rare scenario, if you're in a car crash or if you're, you know, lost with no connectivity whatsoever. Apple says that if you point your phone towards the sky, it will try to establish a connection to the satellite. This is currently only supported in US and Canada, but given how the service providers work in India, we have a habit to pointing this phone towards the sky, so it should be easy when it comes to India. Coming to crash detection, this, as the word says, if at all you're in a crash, and if your phone uses its advanced motion algorithm and also bases it on the accelerometer and gyroscope to detect if at all you're in a crash, and if you are, it will send out an alert on your phone, and if you do not respond in the first 10 seconds, it will call the emergency listed contact on your phone so that you could get some help. This is currently supported on multiple devices like the iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Plus, the Pro, the Pro Max, and Apple Watch SE, the second generation one, and Apple Watch Series and Apple Watch Ultra. So all of these devices have this feature. So the last item we'll be discussing is the battery. The iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro have obviously gotten a upgrade in terms of the battery compared to the previous variants, the 13 and the 13 Pro. The battery capacity is listed to be 3200 milliamperes for the Pro Max. In order to have a better idea of how the battery actually performs, we'll have to do a couple of tests and review it, and maybe have a better idea on how good the battery really is. So we've covered a lot of features with the iPhone 14 Pro. I'm pretty excited to use the iOS 16 and learn more about it, the camera and the battery. Keep watching the space, and please subscribe, like and share.